What's up, guys? It's Coach Gaglione here. We got another edition of the Powerlifting for the People podcast. We got my man Rob on the line today. This is take two, being completely transparent. So hopefully it'll be as good as the first. But I'm excited to have you here today.
Thank you, John.
For people that don't know who you are, can you just give us a little brief background who you are and what you got going on right now?
Sure. I'm a coach at a gym in Union County, New Jersey, called Gaglione Strength and Performance. Been coaching there since late 2013, and we've expanded during that time. I'm the general manager there right now and do some coaching there still as well. And I started my coaching career by interning with you at the end of 2012 through 2013. So now that this gym in Jersey, Game Changer, we're doing real well.
Awesome, man. Yeah, it's great to see your progression and everything. So I definitely want to rewind a little bit and just take us to a time like when you first started lifting. What got you into fitness? What got you into the gym? What was that like? And then how did you kind of get started with just like your own personal like fitness journey?
Of course. So I'm 29 right now, and when I turned 21, hadn't lifted at all. Only real exercise I'd done was I played basketball growing up, and I ran track for like a year in high school. No lifting experience at all. When I turned 21, going to my senior year of college, I honestly I wanted to feel more like a man. Wanted to get in better shape, wanted to look a little better physically, wanted to get stronger. Now that I was getting a little older, so that year, senior year of college, I got really into lifting, and it became a big passion of mine. And then when I graduated, I had a job in sales and a job in marketing for a little bit. But my focus was still on lifting and nutrition, all that good stuff. That was like my number one passion. And I eventually quit the job that I had because I wanted to pursue, a fitness career. And I ended up interning with you. My initial idea was to go back to school or either, get some kind of bachelor's in fitness or exercise science and maybe pursue a master's. But instead I interned with you, and I felt like I was learning so much, and my career kind of got springboarded from there.
Cool. So I want to expand a little bit on like your kind of backstory and everything. I think it's kind of cool that you kind of originally, I know you said you got into fitness more just to like kind of look better, maybe feel better, maybe gain some confidence. What are some of where you getting your information from when you started? What kind of like workouts were you doing, and then from that point, what made you take the next step that you want to kind of learn more and dive in and potentially make this more of a bigger part of your life and a career? What was kind of like that transition like?
So I initially, all my knowledge base came from my one friend, and who's my only source of knowledge. So I got all my workouts from him, all my nutrition advice, all from him. And then I supplemented with, I would say, which most people do when they're first starting out, especially at that age, with T-Nation. That was pretty much it. And a little bit of bodybuilding.com. Workouts, typical body part split. I did still do some power lifts. I'm sure I didn't do them too well. I know I didn't do them too well. But, it was typical, upper body was I usually start with chest day, then I would have one lower body day, one leg day. That was Tuesday. Wednesday, cardio and abs. Thursday was arm day, just dedicated to arms. And Friday was back and shoulders.
Said the Staten Island split right there.
Hey, I should probably package that.
I already got the domain name, buddy. No, just kidding. But no, it's cool. I think a lot of us probably, unless you were an athlete, a lot of us just want to, go to the gym to look a little better, maybe put a little muscle on, just be a little more confident, a little bit more comfortable in your own skin. So you started lifting a little bit. I know you said you were kind of doing some bodybuilding. You were still starting to strength train a little bit. What made you want to kind of pursue a little bit more of education, and then also because obviously like I said, you were in Staten Island at the time, and you were making a big commute to come out to Long Island to learn. So what made you kind of want to make that initial jump, and then also kind of what attracted you to kind of dive in and want to intern at a facility like ours? What was kind of that turning point? Was there something that kind of clicked in your head, or tell me about that a little bit?
Yeah, so just as when I graduated and I was looking for work and eventually got a real job, it was just so much my passion, educating myself on nutrition, on lifting more, and everything I did, it supplemented that, from getting out of, I worked in New Jersey at the time, so commuting from Staten Island to New Jersey, then back to Staten Island, I would just go straight to the gym. Even my choices on the weekends, what I was eating and drinking was being influenced by that. And I didn't love my job at the time, so I knew this is like I wanted to make a career of this. So when I quit my job, I knew I needed something. Like I said, I tried to go back to school. That was my initial thought, but I did it a little late in the game. I quit my job in like August, so it was too late for me to start a semester in September. So I just used my friend Google, searching. I don't think I used the term strength and conditioning. I probably wasn't familiar with that, or whatever the heck I looked up, whether it was internship or that's probably because I didn't have an experience. I'm sure I just looked up an internship, and I came across it was particularly testimonial videos of people who had interned with you and all the good things that they had to say about you. And then looking at your website, and I saw that you had written for T-Nation. Like I said, that was like my main source of information. So it was a combination of seeing your background and like the strong testimonials of people who had learned from you. And I knew this was my passion. I dove in feet first by quitting my other job, so yeah. I decided to take the plunge.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think. So what were some of like the, I guess, highlights or kind of key things that you felt like you learned under our facility? And like I said, if you want to talk about obviously from a coaching standpoint, but also, kind of twisted your arm a little bit, but we also got you to do a couple of powerlifting competitions as well. So you started to obviously advance as a lifter. Like I said, we kind of talked about this before. We, with some articles and stuff back in the day, but put over like 100 pounds on your squat.
Yeah.
Countless amount of pounds on your total. Started to get up to some respectable numbers, and just got a lot stronger overall. So talk to us about that a little bit. What are some things you learned, and how was it like also just kind of training yourself during that process?
Definitely the number one thing that I just right off the bat was just learning how to work with people, especially being very hands-on and close with them. Because I was trying to learn about lifting on myself. I had no idea about how to work with people. So
sure.
I was especially taken aback like watching you specifically work one-on-one with people. I'm like, wow, this guy's amazing. I want to have those kind of traits. So that was definitely the biggest thing that I took away. And then obviously the technique stuff, on making sure that we were doing things right and safe.
Yep.
And technique stuff that I was doing totally incorrectly. And then from you got me into powerlifting, which was huge for me because it brought me to a point where I really had to train hard and seriously. And when I was training that hard, I was just learning more. Not only because I was practicing what I was preaching, but also learning to push myself the way that members want to be pushed, people that I coach now and people that I was coaching back then. Just because that's what kept me consistent once I got into the powerlifting, and I was exposed to so many different variations, different exercises that I hadn't done before. So the better you're able to do something, the better you're able to coach it. So it definitely working hands-on, one-on-one with people, the knowledge base. And then just learning exercises, best because I was doing it consistently and working hard myself at it.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we always try to encourage our interns to kind of work out alongside the team, and it's not really necessarily about being the best lifter, although I do think that there's some merit in really trying to be a little bit more competitive and kind of push yourself, whether that be just for personal records or to be a little bit more competitive and compete at a higher level, but obviously going through the movements yourself and feeling what your body is kind of going through, understanding what your soreness and recovery levels, the fatigue you build up, just kind of understanding maybe some of the growing pains that kind of comes along with getting stronger or putting muscle on or losing fat. I know even with myself, kind of going through my weight loss the past couple of years too, I definitely have a better handle on nutrition and things like that. And I think when you kind of go through it yourself, you kind of can, okay, well, how did I kind of deal when I hit a plateau, or how did I deal with I had maybe some lower back tightness or something like that. You can kind of relate to your clients a little bit better and your teammates a little bit better. The other thing I want to kind of ask you a little bit about, and we'll get into the competition aspect a little bit more in a second, but you mentioned about learning technique, but also dealing with people. So obviously there's maybe some two extremes where you may have some researcher scientist type that they're so worried about the science and mechanics and all this stuff. And maybe they have really good idea of form and all the research and all that. And then there's also other people that are more kind of motivating and cheerleader types, but they're really likable and they're really personable and they could really get somebody engaged. And obviously, I think the best coaches are probably somewhere in between. They know how to work with people, they know how to get them motivated, so they inspire. and instruct, and they're not really doing one without the other. So can you tell us a little about like some of the things how you've learned? What are some things that you've learned? Obviously, you've been coaching for the last number of years. Like you went from like just delivering pizzas and learning to doing this a full-time thing, which is it's really cool for me to see. So what are some advice for some people that are starting out getting into because I think especially as you start learning, it can be really easy to kind of get caught up with like all the sets and reps and the X's and O's, but also you also need to learn how to teach and convey that information to people that maybe they don't really care about anatomy. Maybe they don't really care about the structure and function and all that stuff. And I think it's important for us to know those things. So what are some advice for people when you're starting to coach people? How do you talk to people? How do you get someone to learn in the most efficient way possible, but while also making it enjoyable for them as well?
Yeah, good question and good points. And I totally agree with you. If there's like a continuum, like a coach, there's somebody who's all the way at one end of the spectrum is just worried about technique and knowledge and science, and then there's another person who's really just more of a cheerleader and a motivator. Getting somewhere in the middle, that's that's the middle ground. That's the best of both worlds. Because you definitely need to educate yourself with technique and doing it as safely as possible. But nobody's going to want to continue to train with you or enjoy the experience if you're not personable. So really the best thing I would say is you have to just interact with people. And that's the more just like anything, the more practice you have interacting with people, the better you get at it. And a lot of that was from experience. A lot of that was, simply even reading and educating myself on things, reading how to win friends and influence people. That's that book alone. It's a very popular book and a simple book, but it's been such a huge basis of how I go about communicating with people. And any kind of books on that subject matter has been very helpful. And making sure that you're caring about the member. And the famous, well-known line, nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. It is very true. And the more you truly care about somebody's results, the better you're going to be able to interact with them. I would also say, it depends on where you're working. You might be working with all populations, but kind of finding your niche and where you're most comfortable and work the best with people. Because I started working mostly with younger athletes when I was interning with you, as well as powerlifters. But then even when I started working at Game Changer at the end of 2013, we just trained athletes. And I would say I did a good job. I did a solid job. I got along with them well, and I knew the technique. But not till we started training adults did I really start to do well and really kind of fit in and feel more comfortable and really excel, because that's just who I mesh well with.
Sure.
So learning about it, and I think just finding who you personally get along with well and feel comfortable with.
I think with anything, it's always comes down to context, and it's one thing that I've been trying to do a better job of explaining the context of any videos that we put out. So if you're dealing with a world record powerlifter, maybe the coaching, the cues, the technique, the program starts to become a little bit more important. But most of us are not training world record powerlifters. If you're dealing with a housewife that maybe wants to lose 10 or 15 pounds and just feel better, have more energy day to day, getting them to a 2.5 times body weight deadlift, maybe not. It's maybe important that they get stronger, but how strong is enough for their goal? And I love strength, but it's just kind of, you always have to ask your question, why are you doing this? What's the purpose of it? What's the cost? What's the benefit? How does this help? How does this hurt? And I know one thing with myself, and I'm kind of putting myself on the spot here, but because I love the X's and O's, and I love kind of geeking out, and I'm taking some anatomy courses and stuff right now, just to kind of brush up on that stuff. But the other thing I'm also trying to do a better job of is some more personal development in other areas besides just strength conditioning. So at the time of this recording, I should be taking my first improv class this upcoming weekend.
Cool. Awesome.
Just trying to be more entertaining, think on my feet a little bit, get out of my comfort zone. I'm super comfortable under a bar. I'm super comfortable teaching the squat, So how can I, if I could be more entertaining, if I could think on my feet a little bit better, maybe be a better interviewer, a better educator, just more fun in general, have better people skills. So I think these are some things that I'm personally trying to work on, and I think it's worth mentioning, because I think sometimes we get so caught up with, this is how you teach a squat, or this is and it's if you're a jerk, or if you're just not like you said, personable, no one's gonna listen to you anyway. So I think these are important things, and I think you don't want to discount the science, but also there's other factors that are going to make you successful. And there's some people that really don't know what they're doing that are super successful and make a lot of money, and I don't think that they, are trying to hurt people per se. But so it's important to have a balance of everything, kind of have an honest assessment of where you're lacking, So I know, like with me, I think it's always important to keep learning, like the technique side of things, but also just don't like if you're a business owner, you need to like work on business education as well, and like so obviously you're becoming into a different role, so I'm sure that the education that you're going to need is going to be a little bit different as a manager versus like when you were coaching full time, maybe more of your stuff is going to be more like technique related. Now you're entering a different role, so leadership's going to be more important for you, right? And some different things. So I think that I think it's a great conversation, and it's kind of a good thing. Because I think we get so caught up with like I'm just going to be the best programmer or the best. I'm going to teach this the best, but if you can't convey that information in an entertaining way that engages your athlete or your client, you're not going to be like super successful. So I think those are some really great points. Yeah. So so I know we talked about the internship a little bit. So if someone's maybe like looking to get into the fitness field, what are some like tips that like so you spent a lot of time and effort. We talked about the difference between the convenience and excellence. Oftentimes, so you invested a lot of time commuting. What would you say for some things that people are looking to like learn, maybe do an internship? What are some things to look for? How can you kind of weigh the cost and the benefit for something like that?
Yeah, so definitely, dedication and commitment is obviously a huge part, and you have to accept something, you have to take on something. So I was living in Staten Island, and I was commuting to in Long Island to intern 2 or 3 days a week, and it was at that time it was right after Hurricane Sandy. So for a bunch of reasons, gas, electricity, whatever, it would generally take me like 2 to 3 hours just to get to you.
It was a crazy time.
And it was tough, but that's obviously what I had to do. And like I said, I had quit my other job, so I had to deliver pizza 5 days a week, just that I can make some money and support myself to make sure that I'd be able to come and intern. So you need to accept something, whether it seems like it's the most convenient or not. Something that's going to advance you and further you. Then you just obviously have to go for it. And then I definitely got fortunate with this, but finding somebody great to learn from. I didn't really, like I said, I didn't know much about. I didn't even know the word strength and conditioning. So coming upon you, like that was awesome for me. So finding somebody that's accomplished and then smart and good to learn from is very helpful. And I'm saying that I got lucky finding you because I didn't know much, but I chose to come to you because of like good reasons. I saw people who had learned from you, who obviously gave you great praise. And what I took from them is it was people who came to learn from you so that they could go and be professionals. I didn't just look for somebody who was getting results by training somebody and looking at those type of testimonials, but kind of looking more for my needs. I wanted somebody who was going to teach me well, and I had evidence of that. Finding somebody really good to learn from, who's smart and obviously a great person. Hopefully you can find those two wrapped together, would be great. Yeah. And they have to do something, whether it's convenient or not. You have to be dedicated to it.
Yeah, I definitely want to try and get a couple of more of the former interns on the podcast for sure. We've had a couple for sure, and I take a lot of pride. We do have a bunch of the interns, former interns, working in the field now, and that makes me very happy. It definitely it means a lot because I think for me, I can only reach so many people, but if I'm also, and that's one of the reasons why I do seminars and I've done some, lectures and speaking at different colleges and stuff. But if I can impact other coaches as well, then I'm kind of playing a hand in all the people that they're working with too, building that stronger community and kind of building that good foundation. So I think that's really cool to hear, for sure. So I think, if you, sometimes like a lot of these internships are unpaid, but the value that you're getting in that education and the time that you're going to kind of save later on, because obviously you probably like learned a lot of also maybe what not to do and what to do. So I think that is huge. And you just never know. And obviously, we happen to have, was very close with your boss now. And, we ended up, and I just was kind of right place, right time. I was not in a situation to kind of hire you, and it didn't really make sense logistically. So I ended up, kind of referring you to somebody else. And now you're kind of, you have a great career, great life that you've built, and
that's just really like another example of like finding something like a great person to learn from. You connecting me to finding a network. I'm not somebody who's like super comfortable networking and doing things like that, but I found you, and you had a network, and then I did meet Joe a couple times at seminars, and we made it work so that I was introduced to him. And I even had when I was first interning for Joe, I was like working at my high school gym, and I had maybe an opportunity to work full time there. I ended up, going with Joe, and that was because of his knowledge and the kind of person he is, that was definitely the better choice, obviously, for my career.
Sure.
So just another example of finding somebody who knows what they're doing and sticking with them.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm sure like those first couple of years were tough, but like you're setting the stage for the future, and I think that's also a really great tip, whether it's life or just training, is that the things you do today, it's not just about like getting to tomorrow. It's about like how it's going to kind of give you rewards and benefits like a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years down the road. So like obviously like, you didn't really realize, but like obviously doing the intern here like really set the stage for like this great career that you have now. And there's really no way you can foresee that. So like it's really important not to kind of like rush the process, stay in your lane. It's the same thing with lifting. So going to the lifting side of things, I know that you said, doing some competitions was very kind of helpful for you, just to kind of get your own lifting kind of dialed in and kind of be committed. And you've also, which is really cool, I've seen you at a couple of competitions. You had a group of ladies that are doing some powerlifting, which is great. So you can just talk to me like the importance of like, whether from a coaching standpoint, you could talk about yourself and then also the people you've worked with. Like, what's the importance of doing a competition? Why would you recommend something like that? And how have you implemented, whether it be like the actual powerlifting meets or some of the charity stuff that you guys do? How do you implement some of those competitions, and what's the kind of the benefit of someone that's just training? Maybe they're not as competitive, but they're just kind of like looking to get results and get more fit. Why do you think doing a competition would be something good for them, and what are the benefits of that?
So doing a competition 100% made me train harder and made me more consistent. And if I'm more consistent, I was exercising more, I was learning more, and I was getting stronger. Going along with practicing what you preach, that not only gives me a better knowledge base because I'm more hands-on with what I'm telling other people to do. But it was also very helpful for just showing the members that I'm training, that I've done it before and that I kind of know what I'm talking about,
sure.
And that I'm somebody that they can trust in. So it definitely got my strength base up. And obviously you want to be knowledgeable, you want to work with people, but for training people, you need to look the part in some way. And being consistent with my training definitely helped with that. And as you mentioned, I have some of our members, some of our ladies, brought them to powerlifting competitions. I think we've competed in I think at least 6 of them with our members. And it's an extra way for them to push themselves, because most members, especially like our population, general population that I train, most people want to lose weight. That's like 80% of people's goals, right? Sure. Then once we hit that weight goal, if somebody hits that weight loss goal, like what's after that?
What's next?
From my perspective, I want them to maintain their muscle mass. If they're at a good body weight, I want them to maintain that. I want them to get their bone mass stronger for when they get older and all that good stuff for general health.
Yeah.
And that is important to them too, but that's not always enough to move the needle. So doing something extra like the powerlifting competitions it's fantastic. It keeps everybody training harder. It keeps them more consistent, and it gives not only people something to look forward to, but it also is all part of like creating our community and going much more beyond us being just a gym and being a place where people root for each other and come and hang out. Even at the competitions where we only have a couple people, other members come and watch them. So it really helps with great community involvement, and like you mentioned, charity workouts that we do. We do once a month. We do a charity workout or a bring a friend workout, and that's all just to build a community.
Sure.
Because it's not just about the results and the lifting. It's also about the customer experience and having us, making sure that the members have a good time. If they're enjoying themselves, that's just going to keep them more consistent.
I definitely want to harp on a couple of things. I think obviously, and you've seen it firsthand, like competing like alongside our team. It's great to do it kind of by yourself, but like training it alongside somebody else and training alongside it, whether it be training partners or a group of people, I think it really helps keep you honest and stick to it a little bit more. You don't want to let your teammates down and things like that. So even when you're not really feeling like it, you kind of show up anyway. And I know for my own mother's been training with us like pretty consistently the last 2 years. Her bone density is way up. She's in her 60s. There's a lot of health benefit to some resistance training and something like powerlifting, which is obviously heavy loading, and you could take it as serious or as just have as much fun with it as you'd like. And if you want to just do the empty bar to start, you can go as light or as heavy as, or as aggressive or as conservative as you want, which is one of the things that we love about powerlifting, and one of the reasons why we have this Powerlifting for the People podcast, because it really can be scalable for everybody, which is really good. The other thing I'll say too, I think, as far as the competitions, there's probably going to be a certain point where your weight is your body fat is good enough, your muscle mass is good enough, and maybe your strength is good enough. But what I've even found with myself, especially on the diet end, when you stop having those goals and you stop having those competitions, that's when you kind of fall back into bad habits. That's when you can kind of let the scale kind of climb back. So I do think even if your goal is just to maintain, having some sort of, even if it's not super aggressive goal, having some sort of competition or challenge to keep you honest, to keep you going. This is a really, I heard this from Paul Reddick talking about sharks, and sharks have to keep swimming. So sometimes they'll kind of explode when they're going to feed, and other times they're just kind of circling and chilling. But if a shark stops swimming, it actually dies. So I think that's a really kind of good analogy for training in life. You always want to kind of keep moving. Sometimes your pacing if you have a competition coming up, maybe you're going to be a little more aggressive. Maybe other times you're just trying to maintain, but you're always at least circling. You're always kind of trying to move forward, even if it's at a slow pace. So I think those competitions can really help if you do those throughout the year. Those are times where you're a little bit more aggressive, and other times maybe you're just circling and kind of chilling out. So I think those are all great points. And I think they can be very helpful, again, whether you're a recreational lifter or not. So, obviously, do you have anything to add to that? Or
so for my training, that's 100% true. So I did a competition summer of 2015, and then I didn't do one for 2 years. And during that time, let's say that competition, I was 100% of my greatest strength. 2015 summer, summer of 2017, I was probably on best lay between 80 to 95% of that. And then I reached out to you in middle of that summer to do a competition in November. And in November, I had at my body weight, I had my best competition ever. So it was just training for that is what pushed me further and got me to get stronger. In that other period, I was either maintaining or even slightly below. So having something to look for, and it's not like you gave me magical exercises, but kept me consistent, kept me working hard towards the goal, and helped me get stronger.
Just have that accountability, I think, is huge. And I think regardless of the program, if you put in a lot of effort and you hold yourself accountable, we talked about this a lot, but consistency really can trump anything. You could have the perfect program, but if you're not compliant and you're not doing it, it doesn't really matter. So I think that's big. If someone was maybe on the fence of trying out some sort of competition or powerlifting meet, that maybe they're watching this, because obviously that's a big part of our audiences in the powerlifting world and the strength world, what advice could you give them, and what would you tell them?
First thing I would say is that it doesn't matter how strong you are, just compete. There's no limit to what you have to lift. It's really you against yourself. And every time going forward, when you're doing another competition, you're really just trying to beat your previous best. Second thing, it's fun. And powerlifting, it is very similar from a lot of sports, because everybody who's competing is really rooting for each other. Maybe it's different at a world-class event. I'm sure it is. But unless you're the top 0.001%,
for sure,
you're going to enjoy it.
I'd say for the most part, it's definitely a very welcoming community. There's gonna be jerks. There's gonna be exceptions to that, but I agree. I think for the most part, it's a cool feeling that even maybe your competition sometimes is even cheering your lift on, which is rare. At the highest level, it's when money's on the line and records are on the line, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit more competitive. But in general, most people are kind of doing it for themselves. They're trying to set personal records. A lot of times, barring some sort of injury or just really bad attempt selection, a lot of times the placing it's going to happen how it's going to happen. If someone's way stronger than you, you're not going to magically put 500 pounds on your total that day. It's not like you could have this unbelievable free throw percentage, it's it's not as much of a skill sport. So, but I think that's great, and I think I really love how you said it's not about if you could just do the movements to the competition standard, you are ready to compete. So,
and add something even this might sound a little strange, but It is even similar almost to golf in a way that it's a sport that you could play like for like a long time.
Yeah, there's people. Yeah, masters lifters, 60s, 70s. I mean, it's pretty wild. And then you sometimes see team lifters too. Everything in between. So that's pretty rare, and that's one of the things I love it. And even if maybe you can't, like maybe squatting doesn't jive with your hips, whatever, you could do a bench only. You could do a push pull. You could do a deadlift only. There's usually at least one lift that you could still always do. I'm trying to see if my mom will do a bench meet.
Oh, nice! That'd be awesome.
Even if it's just we do the charity one in October, the bench for boobs, but she's doing good. She did like 65 pounds for 8, the other day.
Oh,
so
that's excellent.
yeah, monster bench right there. But she started. She couldn't even do the bar when she started. So it means it's a substantial like percentage increase. So I think it's important to kind of like view things from like your own lens and a different perspective, because what someone's like big milestone is going to be different for another person. Everyone's different. So.
And I think everybody that I've trained for our competitions has been over 40, like we've only done women.
Yeah,
and
it's cool.
We started because one of my members, she came to me and she told me that she was turning 40 next year and she wanted like something cool to shoot for. So we did a competition the year she turned 40. This last one that we did in I guess it was I think it was when we did one in November or May. I'm trying to remember which one it was.
There's one in the Jersey in May too. Yep.
Yeah, so whichever one was last time, I'm trying to remember. One of our competitors, her first time, she was 6 years old.
That's awesome.
Like it truly is. Like you could do it at any age, and it really is up to your ability. And if you train smart, you do it in a safe manner, and you're gonna have fun with it.
Very cool, man. So yeah, I think just to kind of recap a couple of like the good talking points for today. If you're looking to get into the fitness or strength and conditioning field, get a mentor, learn from people, reach out. It's great that you're listening to this podcast. It's great to like read up on T Nation and stuff like that, but get some hands-on experience. Go like in real life, learn, go to a seminar, go get an internship. The time and effort that you spend during those internships and seminars, view it as an investment. Don't view it as an expense of your time. It's going to really pay. Again, I'm over 12 years into this, and I'm still constantly going to seminars and stuff. And I invest thousands and thousands of dollars and countless hours and hours and hours of learning. And I think that's part of it. You just always want to try and be a little bit better. And I think that growth mindset that you can always be better is huge. As far as competing, I think if you're an athlete listening to this, or a prospective coach, I think doing some competition is going to keep you really dialed in, and you're going to kind of understand what your athletes are going through. And then it's just if you're just an athlete or a lifter, it's just going to give you a little bit of a challenge and give you something to shoot for, and really focus in on those goals. So, Rob, I know you're not really big on the social and stuff, but maybe if you want to tell people about Game Changer and where they could find more about if they're in the New Jersey area, like where you guys are located, if they want to check out the gym or anything else that you want to kind of plug before we close out.
Yeah, I have nothing really personally, from my social media.
No link in bio or anything.
No links to put in the show notes. But yeah, Game Changer Strength and Performance. We're in Union County, New Jersey, right off of in the area of Route 22, Autoland. So you can go to our website, GameChangerGym.com. We have also have a gym in Bel Air, Maryland. If you're in the area there, you can contact us through our website. Go to the Facebook page. And if you're in the area, come on down, check the place out. Whether you're somebody who's looking to get fit or just trying to learn a little more, we're always looking to help people as well in that area.
Well, Rob, it's been great chatting with you. You can stay on the line after we close out. I'll just thank you personally, but it's been really great to watch you grow. Like I said, going from slinging pizzas to coaching people, changing lives. So that's really cool. It makes me feel good. And again, like I said, we're trying to get a lot of different people on the show, and that's what Powerlifting for the People is all about. Whether it be recreationally, competitive, as a career, and obviously, like I said, a lot of the people you're working with are more fat loss oriented, but strength always has its place in every program and can help you out on any goal. So if you guys enjoyed the podcast, please give us a 5-star review. It helps other people find us. Please share it if you liked it. And thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, stay strong, and we'll see you soon. Thanks.
Thank you, John.